Hi everyone, good evening, good morning, or good afternoon, depends on where you are. We start our continuous tasting meetup online session today. So let's move forward. So at first, I want to say a big thank you to our sponsors, Source Labs and Trendic, for giving us the opportunity to provide this meetup, to promote the events, to find the speakers, and also a big thank you to Aurelian and to Severin. They also help us to do this meetup for looking for speakers and also promoting the meetup and Twitter. So a big thank you, Aurelian, Severin, and Source Lab and Trendic. So today, we don't have any warm-up session with me. So, normally we have 5-minute vocabulary session, but I think it's enough warm in your city. So at least in Berlin, we have today 35 degrees. So we will start direct with the main topic. So today we have Antoine. He joined us from Portugal. He is a director of architecture and technology at Redoute with his topic shifting quality to app first at Redoute. I'm really interested in this topic because I know the company, so some time to time, I buy there some goods from my home, and it is really interesting to see how the company works and how they change their testing strategy from web to app first. So Antoine, please share your screen. You can start. Okay. And for all participants, if you have any questions, just put it in the chat, and you will have the opportunities to ask your question after the talk.
Okay, thanks a lot for the introduction. You see my screen now, yeah? Okay, great. So yeah, I'm very happy to be here. I will just do a quick presentation of who I am, etc., just to connect. I will have some input on the Redoute story, but not that long. But I think it's very important to talk about the context and what we are trying to achieve, why we moved to app first, what was the context, because I will share a bit what we have done on the web before pivoting to the app. So yeah, so there will be a bit of suspense through it, but so don't be too impatient. The mobile stuff will come just for you to know the structure. Okay. So just as a disclaimer, I normally do a lot of talks at Redoute with Nadia, which is in holidays right now, but just to share also, she contributed a lot to what I will present with the team. So just also to share that it's always a team effort, what we do in quality especially. So big up to Nadia. So personally, so yeah, I would say I'm not only working in quality assurance or testing, etc. I believe all of us are convinced that quality is much transversal than that. So I'm today so working more on the technology transformation, architecture and technology, and I'm involved specifically in the area of quality engineering in terms of joint venture and also in the communities. So I'm also very happy to share today because I believe we have similar problems at different times with different level of maturity. But I believe with community we can all improve a lot what we are doing. So very happy to share with you today. So Redoute, some of you may not know the company, so we'll do like a quick fast forward of the company because the company have 180 years of history. So it's a legacy company, also with legacy IT system. You will see a bit around that. So the image of a lot of people that have Redoute, it was a company that invented the concept of selling through catalogs. Yeah, because before everyone was going to shops. And then some guys started to say, why not selling with phone and mail? So today it seems like an evidence, but before it was not an evidence. So they built this business that was really built around a big catalog every 6 months that were in all the living room of every family. And it was really the business how it go. Now, Redoute, we have made a transformation, so we'll highlight the key transformation. So we had closed a lot of shops. We reopened more than 50 shops in the last 4 years. We are also specific companies that do internal branding. So we are not only a marketplace. We have people, we have our own brands of products of clothing and furniture. And talking about furniture, 5 years ago, we were not selling furniture. And it's now more than 50% of the turnover of the company and the margin. And it saves the company, by the way, because we are in a very drastic situation. And we also had to address new type of customers. So we are also selling to B2B customer, but we have also developed some B2B2C models. So I would say it's a bit the representation of the digital transformation we all have to do to develop new revenue streams, new type of offer for new customer and etc. So just a big picture. We have also built some automated warehouse in Europe. So you can see here it's one of the automated Europe like Amazon with automated picking, etc. I would say the key KPI to have in mind is that if you order on the website today something, 2 hours after it's in the truck ready for departure in the warehouse. So it's very streamlined process. Like we would like all our software delivery chain to be, if they all will be able to deliver in 2 hours, it will be great. So numbers of La Redoute. So we have 1 billion annual sales revenue. A lot of the revenue comes from internal design. It was created in France, so it's a company with a huge notoriety in the country. So even if we have an international business, that is quite now making more than half of the revenue. It's a highly visited website, so we have between 35 to 40 million visits on the website with a 7 million unique visitor. And it's also very critical because we are selling a lot online. So before we were selling like 40 to 50% online. Right now we are selling at 96% online with all the transactions. So any disruption of the user experience is directly impacting the business sales. So the warehouse, I'll talk a bit about that. And we have also reopened the corners, etc. And we have a new shareholder, which is Lafayette at 200% since a month. So this was the big picture of the company. So just to share a bit how it started, like that, we'll have the context of the company, the big picture of the system we had to deal with in terms of quality. So Redoute invented, I would say, in France, the concept of retail selling. And France has always been like the big selling machine. So we bought at the time, you see the big room with the mainframe. It was the most modern technology to have at that time. And on the international part, it was quite different. Our goal was to deploy as fast as possible the retail model. So each country set up its own system, back office, website, process, etc. So trade-off, very fast to gain market share because in parallel we deploy the business because we didn't have something scalable, but at the cost of a lot of variety of systems. And it's how the IT system of Redoute started. It means that before what I will share around the application, we already did a lot of cleaning in the house, if I can say that. Before we had even more, we had 3 or 4 web platforms for all the countries, etc., plus different back office. So we have harmonized all the back office of the international to a single one, and we kept a French one separated. And we also made this 3-step migration that you see here. So we did a first rationalization of the web platform. So we picked one of the 2 partners we had and we consolidated everything because it was really not efficient before. We had everything to do twice or more with all the integration and middleware layer. And after we made the migration to a mobile first responsive website, before came the fashion, I would say, or the need for the customer to have dedicated application. And this is what I will share a bit more later. But it's also to share that we had to clean the house before to address the app stuff. It is just to say that we had a lot of work to kill the mainframe in Redoute. We managed to remove the mainframe after a lot of years of transformation. The main, I would say, takeaways from what I will share is that the mobile application and the website have a lot of API to integrate with a specific experience layer of API, etc., to build, because we distributed a lot of the system, as you can see in this scheme. And we have also made a lot of information. So today I will not talk about DevOps, event-driven, etc., but we had to change a lot the paradigm we are developing, etc. And it's also making the life a bit more complex for testing all of that, in fact, to make sure everything works fine. But it's a bit the context we are working today. So what I will share in terms of story, it's really in the migration here between the web to cloud to the micro front-end part, where we are migrating to the app first paradigm. Okay, so just to give you a bit the picture in the story of Redoute we are sharing. Yeah, what about quality and what we have done on the web part before talking about the mobile application? So we had to do, like every player has to do, in fact, to develop all the user experience we have to make, introduce a bit more of intelligence, image recognition, voice, selling, etc. So I think it's a challenge we have, especially in retail, with a bit more system. And what we have been going through is a bit this stage to have the big picture from web to app. So in fact, we were really web first is 2015 up to 2018. So we had launched a new application in 2015 to like refresh and modernize the version of the application. And we were only doing experimentation of what I was sharing, so adding a bit of chatbot, IoT, and voice experience, but it was really, I would say, only the beginning of that inside the context and the competition. Then, as we have ended and the full responsive transformation of Redoute, we entered more in a mobile-first, I would say, mindset in the company, from starting for the business of how we think the future, where do we develop first. And this is where we accelerated a lot on the mobile, but only on the mobile website. And after 2020, we had made the complete shift to an app-first and app-centric, I would say, mindset within the company. So what I will be sharing is mainly from 2017-18 to 2021 and 2 and what we're doing right now. So we'll be really in this core here from web to app. And to share a bit around our quality culture, quality organization, in which context we have done this transformation. So what the slide you are seeing, it's the organization only for the web and mobile application part. So it's not, it has nothing around the backend team and the data team, for example. So to give you an idea at Redoute, we are around 400 people in the IT and digital. So here you have the subset working on the user experience part and the web and app. So what we have made in terms of progress is that we had implemented feature team with embedded QA engineers. These teams have a first-line quality ownership, so they are directly responsible end-to-end for the quality they are delivering. We have also implemented a central team of alignment and with the maturity we had in terms of quality. So we have people that are either working on quality orchestration and quality assistance models, so helping this team to build what they need in terms of quality, more on the method and process part and organization, KPI, etc. And then we have people more on the quality enablement. So it's much more on the, I would say, capabilities, technology foundation, data refresh, end-to-end testing, etc. And so we have these two type of team and people helping the other team. And the end goal of that is really to drive what we call so not only quality culture, but quality engineering culture. And it's what we are driving there. And there is some tools available on that online if you search with it. So just to give you an idea of the context we were acting on the web part. So the number I'm sharing here are not on the mobile application part. So we had at that time in 2018 a campaign of non-regression of 3,500 tests for the web and mobile part for 8 countries. They were running in 50 minutes. So mainly integration and user experience testing, and they enable us to do what is below to deliver on a daily basis, like quite every business day. So at 96% success ratio. So it means that per year we are doing on the web platform more near 200 deployments a year on the e-commerce parts and the mobile application. Okay. Right now, this campaign have evolved a bit more. So, and in these 7,000 tests you have here, you have around 1,500 of mobile testing and application testing, mobile application, which is a scope I will mainly share today. So it's really the focus on the application part and how we shifted from this starting point here of 2018 to 2021. And before going in the more topic, the deep dive on quality and testing topic, I will share a bit around the quality and the mobile application and the value and driver for the business. So we had a big push on the mobile application because it was helping us to make much more business. So as you can see on the left part, the conversion rate was much more higher. So it's a very high transformation rate for an e-commerce platform. So quite around 9% of transformation rate. And we had also much higher activation on the mobile application. So quite much more efficient, I would say, business machine. And it has also a very big growth in terms of adoption from our users. In 3 years, we managed to grow to 2 million active owners only in France. So we had also other and internationally. And the growth was quite strong in terms of owners and in demand year by year. So we had, I would say, a huge pressure for the business to develop and to address the quality of our mobile applications that was not at the expectation at the start. So I will share a bit some KPIs on the infrastructure part because it's one of the main topics we had to address in the transformation. it was to be able to keep the same fast feedback loop we were having, because our entire code base, etc., of web and mobile application were really tied together. And what we had to do was to be able to keep a daily rate of delivery for our change in order to keep small change easy to deploy with low risk of deployment and a higher probability of success. So when we started to build the new mobile application, etc., back in 2015, we started with a very simple setup. So we bought 2 smartphones, we tried to make that work, etc. But the execution time was very slow, as you can see. So for 10 tests on 2 smartphones, more than 3 hours, it was really not satisfactory. And for us, it was really painful to perform the change for the business because they were really risky. So we were lacking tests and the feedback loop was too slow. So we addressed and we made a series of improvements. So 2 years after, we had a bit more driver in terms of mobile applications. So we increased a bit the smartphone farm and the test coverage. Execution time remained more or less stable, but we were already with 200 tests executed in 2 hours and a half. So it started to become a bit more satisfactory. And after in 2020, we had accelerated a bit more on the execution. So we had built our own application farm in 2026 devices, doubled the number of tests, and we managed to pass the execution time under 1 hour, which is always important for us to have always quality and speed. It's very important to have fast feedback, to take fast decision about the deployment. And now in 2022, so we have an application farm with 50 devices, but other stuff I will be sharing. We have now more than 1,500 automated tests only for the mobile application, and we are able to execute all of that in 50 minutes in order to perform multiple changes, completely packaged and validated per day. The key question we had in 2020, and it's really the core of the experience that we'll be sharing today, it's which key question we were having that normally a lot of people are having when they are starting to address the mobile application part. It was from the business part, it was how can you accelerate for us more feature in less time and we're still keeping a very good level of quality. So the business wanted really that, more business feature and faster. And for us, what we have to address, it was also to implement processes that are able to scale in terms of number of tests, execution time, and adoption by the different teams over time. And we had also to be able to test much more complex scenarios like personalization, etc., that we were not able to do at that time. And the specific constraint we have due to the architecture and processes we had at that time. So we had the daily release train, the one I was sharing on the web part, and due to architectural topic, we had to keep daily delivery. So it was like a constraint we were not able to change in the short to mid-term in that period. We had also specific processes of validation of go-no-go within the organization, so linked with business, quality team, engineering. That was to give the go-no-go in 2 hours. So we had a lot of focus on that to keep that SLA at the same level. And the application was not native at that time, so we had still web views and stuff like that. And it's a bit explaining the first point. It's because we had a web view that has code shared with the web platform, and it's explained why at the beginning we had to keep that type of iteration. So how we approach that? We started somewhere. So our internal farm was quite too slow, so we started to work with the browser stack, with the cloud farm. Well, it's at the period when we were in 2017 and when we started to do stack. So the pros and cons of our experience, it was web. Advantage of SaaS, very fast to experiment. Browser stack have a lot of device and OS that are easy to access and also to get the latest upgrade and versioning. The big issue we had was the execution time. I know they have made a significant improvement recently on that part. The execution cost also linked to the long running, etc. And the SaaS model was very costing a lot to us, and not in fact really having a return on investment for our case, because we are not able to give go-no-go on time, and it was still costing a lot. So what we did is we started, there was some cases in the market with such a bit of documentation, etc. So we decided to build our own farm internally. So it was really not our initial goal, because we are always like, okay, we are a retail company, we are not there to build a farm of a mobile server, etc. It's not our job, but we are so frustrated with the overinflow in the market and the latency, especially, that we really give a try to that, sharing with some people in the ecosystem that have managed to get very fast response time with that approach. So we bought the ventilated locker, we bought the smart transfer, we implemented specific iPhone and Samsung, etc. Devices, and we set up the specific hub. After came the part of we had 5,500 tests on the web part, because what I'm sharing is really how we move from web to application part. So we have a lot of tests within our test automation tool. So it's Cerberus testing, something we have now that is open source in 2013. And basically, the tool, for us, it's our referential of requirement and test. It's the tool also used to launch the test, and it's also the same solution that is consolidating all the reporting and analytics. So what we decided to do was to leverage all our repository of web tests, and we rapidly deploy reusing the user journey, the application test. So it was quite fast, in fact, to create the 400 tests I was sharing before. And we connected that to our farm to have the same process. So defining tests, doing proper test design, modular tests, etc., launching them in the farm and getting the result. And for us, this is why we were quite fast on that part, because we reuse the same framework, same model, and same process we are using with the daily deployment, daily go-no-go, and daily deployment after we had the validation. So here you have some specific information around what we use to connect. We have an article on our website, Redoute.io, on how we connect all of that if you want to do the same. So it's available on the website. So how it looks like after in our farm. So we have all the farm available like that. So this is the farm we are using for the non-regression. We will see later on that we have a second farm dedicated to the monitoring and the analytics and the web performance. So we are really the 25 and 25 farm working today and running all the tests on a continuous basis on that part. So what we have managed to do with that approach is that in the initial part, so we had quite a significant improvement in terms of timing, and it was very good. So if we are executing in 2 hours and a half, a 40% improvement, for example, for Android was very useful. And we were not really confident each time to have the SLA under the SLA of 2 hours of 120 minutes. So you see in this slide here that we had quite an issue to have stability under this SLA, plus that with the increasing number of tests, it was becoming complex to maintain that. So after we made a lot of improvement in terms of test dynamics in maintenance, so to optimize the test, the response time of the API, the accessibility of the data. We also bought specific hardware that was missing. So here I mentioned the new Mac, but we did some type of improvement. And when we did that, we managed to really keep a lot of times the SLA under the SLA, in fact. But it was really not enough for us, because once we have done that, we were able to deploy quite regularly daily on the mobile application. But the mobile application was so much used by our customer that we were still having a lot of bugs and issues in production and the customer impact, even rating in the application store, which is quite impactful. So it was also due to the massive usage of the application. We had a lot of other versions, a lot of traffic, and much more user journey we were not expecting to. So some questions we had to answer that are here. The first one was, how are we able to support and handle many more version type of devices, version of OS, version operating system, and other stuff? Are we able to get new version of time? So we had a farm with 25 devices, but we were not able to buy all the recent devices where they were coming from. So we had to find a way to get quickly new version when they are available. So the question we had, but we already knew the answer writing the question, is should we buy 2,000 devices or even 1,000? No. And what happens if our farm is down? Because in fact, if our farm was down and it happened one day we had a big issue, we are not able to deploy. We can deploy in production, but it's so risky that we don't do it. So in fact, our farm being down means that we can lack delivering value to the customer, or even that we are not able to perform monitoring of the mobile application for specific tests. So for us, it's very highly critical it has become a very critical part of our delivery chain and also of monitoring of the user experience. So we had to change what we have done at that time to start reflect and change what we have done. So basically, we kept BrowserStack. It could have been a competitor in the ecosystem. Here, I'm not here to push any solution. So we kept our internal farm for non-regression. We also bought a second farm for the monitoring part, and we kept the public farm, but with different use cases. In fact, it was really like a very specific focus for each one. The internal farm, we keep it. So one farm for the core non-regression tests. So all tests used to be run very fast when we have a go-no-go to give, and also mainly non-regression tests. And then a second farm dedicated to the analytics, monitoring, user experience monitoring. And this farm didn't have all the devices. It had already the main diversity of devices that our main customer were using. So like 80 Pareto principle, 80%, 20 effort. Then on the public farm, it was really a different objective. So the goal was for us to quickly execute the most critical test on a very broad diversity of device and OS version, etc., to guarantee the mixity of tests. So it was the inverse, 80-20. For us, in that way, it was very good value for money because we are able to execute punctual tests on a large variety of devices, and the cost versus owning them and maintaining them and renovating them is cheap, in fact. And BrowserStack was also the way for us, and we use it also and we test it regularly. It was to have a backend plan and a disaster recovery plan. So if our farm on the left is down, we are able to launch all the tests in BrowserStack. So we know it's slower. We know it will cost quite a lot of money because we have 1,500 tests to run extra, and we don't run all the tests in that case, but it's far more better because we have a solution. We are not blocking the flow of iteration. So right now, what we are having today in terms of process, so we have the daily train of deliveries that is still linked to the web application platform, so with specific campaign. So we have a web campaign of 5,500 tests, more or less, that are dedicated to the web application. We have a specific internal campaign for the mobile application, so around 1,300 tests. And then we have for the cloud part, so all the diversity of device, etc., 200 tests. So we are executing all these tests on a daily basis, normally in 2 environments of testing before giving the go-no-go for the application. And we have released this daily train. So we take all change, we do all the tests, and we package the mobile application. And today we don't do a store push to be app ready or releasable every day. So we only push from some time to time, and after we push to our customer. So we still have this limitation. I will come back to that on the next step and roadmap. And we have released this rhythm of iteration. So like every business day, we are following this. And it's really in this non-regression campaign that we have to run all the tests under the 120 SLA. So today what is happening normally is that the tests run in 50 minutes maximum, all these tests, and we have 70 minutes to analyze the KO, etc., to rerun some fail tests if needed, to say, can we go with this version of that in production later on. After what we have complementary running, it was a famous monitoring campaign. So we have around 250 tests running like every 5 to 10 minutes, depending on the test, on all the variety of countries and a variety of devices. And they have a very different objective. So they are monitoring some critical user journey path with our specific use case, with specific data. They are placing orders also that we don't count in the revenue. And we are also verifying specific behavior like personalization, tags, sending to external partners, because we are able to verify, to perform end-to-end testing and white box testing. So for us, it's quite useful to have this capabilities. This is very what we are running on a systematic basis, so every day and every 5 to 10 minutes. After we have specific type of tests, mainly on non-functional requirements that are either on demand or more punctual. So we have a security tests from different type, interactive, dynamic, etc. And we are also preparing some load tests more regularly. So before we are doing them only before the big sales period. Right now we are able to do them on a weekly basis for the standard load test. And after we do stress testing every month. So I'm stepping back a bit on what we have done and what we want to do to accelerate the cycle time, because we still have limiting factors today. So we still have a few components of the mobile parts that are linked to the web platform. So this is limiting us to decouple the cycle of delivery of the mobile application with the web part. So this is something we are actively finishing right now, and it will enable us to separate this and to have a different life cycle, and if we want, to perform multiple packaging per day of the mobile application. So to do that, we are finishing also the migration of the mobile application to a fully native model. So we are mainly finishing the checkout part, the more complex parts that were still in WebView. And we have also implemented a process that enable us to have an application that is daily ready on the store. So it means that every day we are pushing the application ready, pushing for submitting to Apple and Google, for example, Android Store, to say, can you validate if this application can go to production if we want? And after, like that, every day if we want, we can push a new version to the customer. So for us, it's very important because we have a lot of time, sometimes security issue, privacy, GDPR, etc. And we see that having the capability to deliver daily is really a game changer for us in terms of risk management. And then more globally on the quality and the quality testing and this part on the shift from web to application. So we are really acting on the continuous load test, especially on the mobile application. So we are doing the monthly process and weekly process our sharing systematically on the web part. It's not yet the case for the mobile application. So it's something we are actively working on at the moment to make sure it's done like the web part, to have much more confidence on all the scalability requirement of the application. We are also deploying a self-healing technology with our tool to be able to have less work of maintenance on the fixed IDs. So we have worked since a long time with the development team on fixed ID on all locators and all elements to have really stable tests because our flockiness ratio is very low. But we have a self-healing technology that is quite helpful with a new framework of development that a lot of time are not helping to a fixed ID. So it's complex sometimes even for developer to have a fixed ID. And the other topic of improvement is to have the systematic security testing, including inside the lifecycle. So we have a lot of static analysis, a few dynamic tests with specialized tool, but it's not yet included systematically on the lifecycle and the pipeline. So it's something we have in the core improvement to be made. Then the main takeaways we have from our iteration, and if you want if you have the same challenge, you can probably go faster than us, is to have really an hybrid approach to the app-first paradigm. So for us, it was quite helpful to capitalize on all the work we have done on web to reuse a lot of our test suite, automated test suite, the modules we had, because even if some user journey was different, we are able to reuse a lot of them, a lot of modules, and also to reuse a lot the data management part. For example, we had a lot of API calls to get customer data, product data, etc. And we are able to reuse that a lot as we had a good basis of web automated tests. The second part on the hybrid approach, it's what I was sharing between having an internal farm and a cloud farm. So I don't believe all organizations can have the capability and the time, etc., to manage an internal farm. I believe for a specific size of companies that want really to accelerate the delivery of value to customer, and when the mobile application becomes critical to the business, it's really worth considering that versus putting everything in the cloud. So I know the cloud provider, cloud SaaS provider in that area have made a lot of improvement in terms of cost, in terms of diversity of browser and latency of execution. So it's something we can challenge in the coming months and years, I assume. But really for me, it's important to be able to challenge and also to have a backup plan like we have. I think it's really for us very important in terms of file availability of that solution. After, during our journey, I think the fact that we have really ambitious goal, I would say, can always challenge them, but the fact to have a daily release train to say we have to run a test on the monitoring every 5 minutes, etc., and a lot of them make us take quite a drastic decision, for example, to say we need to buy a second farm, we need to change the organization to address the quality, etc. And we only took this type of decision because we push ourselves to attain specific standard and specific result. We could have said, no, but during the non-regression tests that are running during 120 minutes, we don't run any monitoring tests because like that we'll save a bit of money. We didn't accept that for the monitoring of the customer experience. So yes, we have to invest much more money and we have more work in terms of maintenance. But at the end of the day, it's what is enabling us today to deliver with much more confidence. And after, so for me, it's more general takeaways that we applied here. Also, it's really to step back on the big picture on what we have done. So we didn't think only about mobile. We think about what we have done on web. We also think about how the back office, etc., need to be reviewed, how the architecture can be made to simplify the iteration of the mobile application. So for me, it's a very systematic step back we have to do in everything we do, especially in quality and testing, because it's very transversal area that can have this big picture. And for me, this is where we can drive much more transversal and valuable improvement. So this is what I had to share. I didn't cover everything, also to have some sharing in the Q&A. So if you want to follow me, there are my social tags. I also blog in the Q&A unit. If you're interested, you can have a look. And now I think we have some time for Q&A, so I'm happy to discuss together.
Thank you, Antoine, for the really good talk. So we already have some questions. So Aurelian, would you like to read your question, to ask your question by yourself?
Yep. Actually, I saw afterwards something that I received some inputs about the frameworks you used for testing. I just didn't understand well. I saw one slide with both Selenium and Appium.
Yeah, because in fact, serverless testing, in fact, it's a solution we have built on top of open source solution. So at the beginning, it was an internal test automation framework, like a million of test automation teams are building, in fact, I think. And after a lot of time and iteration, etc., our goal has always been with this tool, and now it's more a platform to have a single user interface to iterate fast, not only within QA and testing actors, but with business, QA engineers, DevOps, and operation on the life cycle of quality, delivery, and can we deliver change of software. And in fact, we always build on top of open source solution. So today, if you launch a web test on Cerberus and all the action you are using, it's not really low code. I would say it's more an action and control library. I'm not a marketing guy, I know, but I prefer to tell the truth. It's based upon Selenium. If you run mobile test, it's run on the Appium library. And for us, it's very important because like that, you have much more portability on the test. If you want to change later on, you are not locked into a specific system. And today, Cerberus is providing the abstraction over these, I would say, these drivers. Because, for example, we provide cross-browser testing. So if you want to execute, for example, in Selenium, you have some actions that are specific between Chrome, Firefox, etc. In Cerberus, you have only one. In that case, you already have an abstraction layer. And we also provide test referential execution in parallel that you can scale, etc. And the reporting natively integrated on the user interface, screenshot, rerun, CI/CD integration, Slack integration. So I would say there is a lot of capabilities built on top. Yeah, so you saw correctly. If there is Selenium, it's behind the scene.
Okay, thank you.
Very impressive.
Nice. I think you have also some questions.
Yes, I have some questions. Yes, the first one is what kind of different levels of test were these? Are you talking, is this all UI testing, or is this also including unit testing, or what are those thousands of tests?
Yeah, so today, in fact, we had quite a specific approach to testing, I would say to the testing pyramid, because what we have done in the web part, it's really, we have a lot of people would say, oh, it's an anti-pattern, etc. Yes, I agree. I know that normally you should test at the lower layer possible, the pyramid. Yeah, we did the inverse, in fact, because our context was quite different, because we had business was not talking with engineering and even less with QA and even less with operation. And focusing on user experience testing was a way for us to people to talk the same thing and to avoid the business do its own test, QA do its own test, developer do its unit test and integration test, and the operation guy do also its own test. So we had a strong focus on end-to-end, not only end-to-end, but user experience test. Yeah. So there are either end-to-end customer journey or specific path of the application, and they are also performing some API call in the backend. So these tests on the web part are are for us helpful because we don't do a lot of integration tests. Because in fact, if we have an issue on the user experience, it's because there is an issue in the integration layer. So we don't test twice. So we do first priority user experience test, and after we do also a lot of unit tests, but for the modularity part with mock and unit tests for the developer to know if they can commit their change for the daily release train. So this is what we are doing on the web part. We kept that, I would say that mindset right now on the mobile application part, because the architecture of the mobile part was quite, I would say, not really monolithic, but microleaf, because you have web, mobile, and a common set of API. What we are doing right now is to go to a micro front-end architecture, completely decoupled component, event in the middle, etc. We have done only a few components right now, 4 or 5. In that architecture and mindset, we are really doing much more as the standard pyramid, unit, integration, a few of user experience. So what will happen is that our big 1,500 tests will reduce to the core of end-to-end user journey to maintain the coherence. And a lot of the tests that are today a lot in the same campaign will migrate with some components, but it will shift from user experience to unit and integration. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. The next question was about your internal device farm. How much physical maintenance do those devices require? Like I was thinking for the last year when offices were closed, did some of you have to rush into the office when the devices stop working, or how did that
but
go?
what we did is that we had by risk management, we have only always one person from the team present in the office.
Okay, yeah.
We don't have daily work to do on it, but we can have something to do sometimes because they are quite used a lot inside the device. So we had to do, for example, shut them down when they are not used after inactivity, etc., because there was a lot of heating. But this, you can put a cooling system. But after, we have the problem that the device, after 6 months, we are completely down. It's like you are always losing the smartphone, the update, etc. Yeah. So in fact, what we have done is that, so we have QA team people that are really monitoring, following, etc. And after, we have also we have our own 24/7 operation team to follow the entire IT system, and we have also set up monitoring on our farm, so they are also able to get alert and stuff. For example, if there is a device down, there is a latency or whatever. And today, to give an idea, so the 7,000 tests we have, they are managed by 3.5 people in QA automation engineers. After you have a few people on the business product part that are owner of the customer paths, the modules, etc. we are having. But I would say the concrete maintenance work of updating the test, etc. It's 3 to 4 people on a continuous basis. So they are either implementing new tests, adapting tests, doing the day-to-day no-go, but we are doing that in that way.
And they are maintaining all the tests as well, or is there also developers involved? Like,
no, developers are maintaining the unit test and in a bit of integration test they are doing in their component, but all the 7,000 tests, it's mainly business and QA engineer.
Wow, okay, interesting.
Yeah, we pushed a lot the responsibility of business and quality guys. After, they are sharing with developer, etc. for constraint, but really the go-no-go responsibility, it's product management.
That might also lead into my last question, and that is basically, how did you make or how did you convince a company that had financial troubles to invest so much in quality? Because you have a very impressive setup. Yeah.
Well, for us, in fact, we didn't convince them to invest in quality. We more show the issue we were having with the current process. For example, we say, okay, but you want to change the business, right? You don't know what the customer will want, more or less, or until you test. In fact, you test the value hypothesis in production. And we say, okay, but with the current setup we have, you are able to test 12 IDs a year, 12 IDs, or you have 12 times a year you can test IDs because you deliver once per month. So we say, what we can do, and we will have a struggle, it will be hard, etc. But I don't remember the exact cost, but we say, is really a 50K or 100K euro an issue to iterate faster on the value proposition? And the question like that was not really an issue. And we had also a good, I would say, we had also good understanding from the CIO also. So it helped a lot. I think in a company when the CIO is less technical and less the value and quality, it can be a bit a challenge. But yes, but I think it was the start was like that, and after we also show the result. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so framing it as an opportunity, how often they want to validate ideas, that's a very nice approach.
Yeah, you need to go up to the chain. Exactly.
Yeah. They don't care how many tests you run, right?
Yeah, no, it's how many tests, right, to validate quickly.
Yeah, nice. Thank you very much. Great talk. If anyone else wants to ask any questions, feel free to unmute yourself or write in the chat if you don't have a microphone. Otherwise, thank you very much.
So no questions anymore. So let's then start with a wrap up this session. Anton, if you stop your screen sharing, so I will share my screen again. Yeah, so thank you, Anton, to being here and to share your knowledge with us. So what's coming next? So save the date, the next meetup is already planned, 24th of August. You will also find, or you can always find the all information about meetup on our website, continuoustestingmeetup.com. If you want to submit a talk, or if you have a friends who want to submit a talk, or if you have a colleagues who want to submit a talk, just go to our website and click on the top on the button, and we will contact you as soon as possible. You will also find the video recording from this meetup at least at the end of this week or at the beginning of the next week. So thank you very much for joining, for being here. Thank you, Anton. Have a nice evening. Enjoy your time. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.